Hello ladies and gentlemen, MarauderEX here with part 2 of my Sega Saturn game collection. So we're just going to jump right into it because I assume you've seen part 1. So starting off, we've got Marvel Superheroes. Fighting game involving the Infinity Gems, one of the early Capcom precursors to the Marvel vs. Capcom series. Really fun game, lots of interesting characters. Some of them didn't show up until much later. Again, after this game, like Psylocke didn't show up for a while, but once she did, it was a welcome comeback. But this game, really good. Not as good as one of the other ones that I have a copy of, but we'll be getting to that later. Next up, we have Mega Man X4. I've done a Let's Play of this. I'm actually currently uploading it as we speak. I've done several Let's Plays of this, actually. This was the end of the X series to me. Just was. Because after this, it started getting really convoluted. It started contradicting itself. It was the first time you could play as Zero through the whole game, and they were trying to make Zero a more important character. And Zero was originally the character designed for the X series. It was supposed to be Zero. They were going to do a Mega Man style game, but with the character Zero, but then they felt it wasn't going to be popular enough to stand on its own, so they turned it into X, and Zero became a side character. And it wasn't until later that Zero got his own series, but I've had a lot of issues with the X series. I've ranted about them, mostly because too many people kind of had their hands in the pot of design choices, let's say that way. And if you are the creator of something, stand by your creation. Don't give a half-ass response. To say that you okayed scenes of Zero killing people, being a maverick, and being evil, and saying that, no, Zero couldn't kill anyone, that's not his nature, no. Just stop talking. It makes me lose respect for you as a designer. It does. I still love X4, though. X5 and 6, not as much. X5 is good, X6 can go eat a bag of dicks. X7 can go eat a forest full of dicks. X8's alright. Like, I don't hate X8 because it goes back to actually trying to be a Mega Man game. But X6, and X7, bleh. Next up, Mysteria, The Realms of Lore. This was actually released as 2 versions. Mysteria was the first game, but then there was a lawsuit about the name with a band. And so they had to change the name to Blazing Heroes. So you may have seen this under either Mysteria or Blazing Heroes. I actually have a friend who lives just on the other side of town who has a copy of Blazing Heroes. I've been trying to get that from him so that I could have both copies, because that would just be kind of awesome. But sadly, it's a really good tactical RPG. I've done a Let's Play of it. He won't sell me his copy because it's good. But yeah, go watch the LP of it. I can talk more about that in the LP than I can here. Next up, Night Warriors, Darkstalkers Revenge. This is one of the Darkstalkers franchise games. Morgan Anslid, Felicia the Catwoman, all sorts. It's all based off of monster movies as a fighting game. There's actually a new game getting ready to come out for it that's been released. It's a great franchise. It's pretty much a ripoff of Street Fighter in terms of everything, because it is a Capcom title, so everything, you see all the parallels. But it's a good franchise on its own, even if it started off as just a reskin of Street Fighter. It grew from that very well, I might add. Next up, Nights into Dreams. I've done a Let's Play of this as well. I cannot stress, if you own a Saturn at all and you do not own this game, you are doing yourself a disservice. Buy this game. It's short, but it is well worth it. It's gorgeous. If you also happen to have a 360 or PS3, the HD version that actually has Christmas Nights, that was mentioned in part 1, I believe it has Christmas Nights, but the HD version of Nights into Dreams, based off of the PS2 port of this game, is out. Buy it. I hate recommending anything Sega related at the moment because of how they treat their fans. Looking at you, Sega. But Nights was a great game. I will not be giving money to them. I can't say don't give them money, but if you have money already that, or, yeah, no, I got nothing on that one. I can either say give them money or I can say don't give them money. I'm actually going to say don't give them money. It's a great game, though, but don't give them money. They're dicks. Next up, I've got 2 games here. Panzer Dragoon 2 Zwei. These are rail shooters of the finest caliber. Arcade rail shooters. You play a dragon, you have a homing laser for the dragon, and then the dragon rider has a gun. So the dragon rider's gun is your standard fire. The laser is a homing laser that you can target and lock on. Very addicting, very fun. Well worth the price if you have a Saturn. Track down a copy of this. So much fun to play. Which leads us into Panzer Dragoon Saga. This is a custom cover art because they did not have the US cover art on the cover project. But I've done a Let's Play of this. It is a gorgeous role-playing game. It's kind of, for being 4 discs, it feels kind of on the short side, but how much they've put on these discs is just freaking amazing. It's also going for like $300 right now. So I'd say pick up a copy if you could, but that's expensive, which is why I'm never selling this. I'm taking this to my grave with me. That's what I'm doing. Gorgeous RPG. I've done a Let's Play of it. Go watch my LP. Go right now. Go do it. You back? Thank you. All right. Next up, a rather expensive title. Another rather expensive Saturn Bomberman. This game, this also has the PAL art, but it's not the PAL version. This game is the perfect Bomberman game, as they've put it, because you can have 10 people playing this at once. It supported the Saturn Net Link, so if you could get online with the Saturn, you could play people. If you had multi-taps, you could play people. You can have this version has the most capable players of any Bomberman game released to date, which is why this one is so freaking expensive. This one goes for about $100 as well, last I checked. And then you need the multi-taps to make it work. I don't have the multi-taps to make it fun. It makes me sad, but I can play against a ton of computer opponents. So, there's that. But yeah, that does make it the best Saturn, or the best Bomberman title released at the moment. Next up, Scud, the Disposable Assassin. This is an odd platformer where you play an assassin that you buy out of a vending machine, and he kills people. Once he kills people, he dies. Once he kills his target, he dies. So he actually learns mortality. It is the most out there game. Like, the bad guy is a plug for a head, mouse traps for hands, a squid for a crotch. Like, it's really hard to see, but that's the bad guy. Look at that. That's the stuff of nightmares. Interesting game, though. I got it for dirt cheap. Next up, this one I actually have more parts of it for part 3, but when you see why I do part 3 differently, you'll see why I don't include this. Shining Force 3. I've done a Let's Play of this. This is what got me banned from YouTube. This and Shining the Holy Ark. But I'll get to this one in a second. Shining Force 3. This is the last of the Shining series games, to me. Everything else after this is just they put the Shining title on it to make a quick buck. This is where I hate Sega for. For the fact that they banned and flagged hundreds of videos, some of them blatantly illegally, on YouTube for Shining content, for reasons still unknown. But this was the last tactical RPG, so it's the last one that ever really deserves the Force title, because Shining Force games were the tactical RPGs. Shining other games, like Holy Ark, Shining Wisdom, Shining in the Darkness, those were the different types of games. But Force games were tactical RPGs. This one had 3 installments, which made the full game. This is the only one that was released in the US, which was Scenario 1. So thanks to Sega cutting support for the Genesis or for the Saturn early, pissing off Camelot, we only got this. So thanks, Sega. But also a big thank you to everyone on the translation project. I will get to that more on part 3, but fantastic game. I've done an LP of that. Go watch. I've also done an LP of this one, Shining the Holy Ark. Great dungeon crawler. Again, this is one of the games that got me banned, because there was a game at the time that all of this YouTube nonsense was happening that's affected a bunch of people. There's a game called Shining Ark. Not the Holy Ark, but just Shining Ark, coming out in Japan on the PSP. The only theory that was going around was that Sega wanted the search results to be higher. They didn't want fans confused. So they started targeting Shining the Holy Ark, but then it just hit everything Shining related. There were people with Shining Force 3 videos, there were people with Shining Force 2 videos, anything with Shining in the title that could be linked to Sega, even webcam videos like this, that actually they didn't even show the game, they showed no game content, but Sega flagged those videos. Those are the ones that were illegal, and I really wish I had a video like that was completely legal for them to flag copyright on, because I would have so taken them to court. Most of the other people who did that opted not to, because it is a grueling legal process, but Sega was also ridiculously crossing the line. But Shining the Holy Ark, great first-person dungeon crawler, very reminiscent of the Golden Sun series, because again, done by Camelot, the same people who did the Golden Sun franchise. You could see a lot of the early influences for Golden Sun in that game. Another Camelot game and another Working Designs game. So you'd think with those two things, how could this be a terrible game? It's not a terrible game, but it's not the best. Shining Wisdom. This is a Legend of Zelda clone, where you have heart meters that are little fireballs over your life. You have 3 items. You have a weapon, a magic orb, and items that can be used. And all sorts of different attacks and different things that you can learn over time. Very much like Zelda. The only problem is it was nowhere near as polished in the design concept, the building concept, as Zelda. Otherwise, this would have given it a huge run for its money. If they had put a little more effort into designing this game, it could have given A Link to the Past a huge run for its money, which actually is kind of a bad thing, because the Saturn was the next step from the generation-wise from the SNES. So this should have given A Link to the Past a run for its money anyway, but you're comparing Camelot, who at the time just broke away from Sega, and Nintendo, who had had years of experience with that sort of thing. Kind of like, for the amount of effort put into it, still great game. I'm one of the few people who actually like it. A lot of the Shining fans don't really seem to like it. Next up, Sonic 3D Blast. This was released as Sonic Blast on the Game Gear, Sonic 3D Blast, Flicky's Island on the Genesis. It has like 6 names. It was released for everything. It was released on the Saturn, it was released on the PC, the Genesis, and the Game Gear. All versions are slightly different. The Saturn and PC versions are actually fairly similar, as I believe they share a soundtrack. They may also share the special stages, but I think the Saturn had a unique special stage that's a more revamped special stage from like the Sonic 2 tube that you run through. I think the PC version may have gotten the Genesis special stage, which is a weird, you're running on a bridge thing. It's weird. I love the music for this. I'm just going to say that. That's a personal joke going out to a couple of friends who will watch this video. I love the music to this game. It's a great soundtrack. And apparently your opinion is wrong if you share that. My opinion's wrong, because I love the music. Yeah, anyway. Long story. No, don't ask. Sonic Jam. This is basically Sonic 1, 2, and 3, and then what was supposed to be Sonic Extreme, the 3D rival to Mario 64, but they just cut that out and made it a small museum mode that lasts about 5 minutes. It also has a bunch of interesting side notes, like the opening to Sonic CD, a segment of the Sonic OVA movie, anime stuff, soundtrack, all sorts of fun stuff. Oh, it also does have Sonic and Knuckles on it. I guess it just has Sonic and Knuckles by itself, but not... I don't know if it actually links Sonic and Knuckles with Sonic 3 or Sonic 2. I don't know. Another Sonic game, Sonic R, Sonic Racing. This is the only Sonic racing game or racing game involving Sonic where Sonic is not in a car. So this to me seems like it should be the only legitimate Sonic racing game because Sonic can run at the speed of sound. Why does he need to get in a car? Why? But a lot of people hate this game because it's not... It's a racing game first and foremost, but then it has non-racing elements like to unlock the secret characters. You have to find coins, which mean you have to go on different paths. Which, if you go on the different path, unless you're an expert at this game, means you will not be coming first in the race. So it's kind of a back and forth. A lot of people hated it for that reason. The soundtrack is just really out of place for a racing game. But it was an interesting concept. Fell flat on its face, but interesting concept. Next up, Street Fighter Alpha Warrior's Dreams, another fighting game that shows off the Saturn's prowess. It was a really good fighting game. I had a lot of fun with it. This was the first one that I played that had the new characters like Rose, which it took me a while to learn Rose, but there's a couple other characters that I don't remember because it's been forever since I played this. But when I first got it, I spent hours on it. Next, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. This is Tetris meets Tetris Attack meets Puyo Puyo. It's actually more related to Puyo Puyo. You get different colored gems, you link them together, and then you get little energy spheres of the same color to break the gems, and then you want to get the combos to smack a bunch of gems onto your opponent. But it's played with Capcom characters, mostly from the Street Fighter and Darkstalkers franchises. You got a little Morgan there, little Felicia there, little Donovan Bane there. I love Donovan Bane. He's an underrated character. But that's a really fun game as well. Hours and hours of dicking your friends over. Next up, we've got Virtua Cop and Virtua Cop 2. I've done an LP of Virtua Cop. I don't know if it's still up. I may have actually taken it down. But arcade light gun shooter for both of these. The second one introduces a female cop, whereas the first one is just the blonde and the brunette guy. Really fun game. I've spent hours just playing this, dicking around, killing civilians because they pop up out of nowhere. If someone's shooting, if there's a police shootout, you do not stand up and say, "Please don't shoot me." No, you get shot for doing that. And they do. Next up, Virtua Fighter 2. This actually came with the Saturn, so I've had it forever. One of the best 3D fighting games. The Virtua Fighter series actually got Sega into the Smithsonian for its 3D fighting engine. Virtua Fighter 2 was the pinnacle of that series to me. I couldn't get into Virtua Fighter 3 and beyond, but this game, I spent hours playing it with various characters. My favorite was Leon, the French guy with the funny stance, because I could just have so much fun beating people with him and pissing my friends off. Next, another fighting game, but very different, Virtual-On Cyber Troopers. This one actually had twin sticks. Forward, backward, turning, and then you have 3 attacks. It's a very unique mech fighting game. If you can find the twin sticks for the Saturn, that makes this game so worth it. Even without the twin sticks, I've had a lot of fun just playing it with a regular controller. So many interesting characters. I actually went out and got the sequel for the Dreamcast after playing this great fighting game. Next up, this is World Series Baseball, and notice the lack of sports titles. Not really a sport. This one is actually for an old friend, Darkseath. He and I, when I had the demo disc, the bootleg sampler that came with the Saturn, one of the things you could do is play Home Run Derby for this version of World Series Baseball, and we just spent hours doing that. But because it was a bootleg sampler, it didn't actually save anything, so all of our home runs were for naught. But when I got older, I tracked a copy of this down so that whenever we're together, we've spent like 4 to 5 hours just sitting there playing Home Run Derby. Like, we don't even play the actual game. We just play Home Run Derby. That's what that's for. Nostalgia, fun times. Last on the A to Z stuff, before we get into part 3, XMen Children of the Atom, another Capcom fighting game. This one actually predates Marvel. I think this one predates Marvel Superheroes. I'm not entirely sure which one came first. This one was done by Capcom and Acclaim. Had Sentinel, Omega Red, Silver Samurai. There's a character you never see. But it was basically X-Men versus a bunch of X-Men villains. Really, really fun arcade game. I remember playing this in the arcade, which is why I had to pick it up on the Saturn. Had a lot of fun with that. So yeah, that is part 2 of my Sega Saturn collection. Stay tuned for part 3 for some of the technical stuff and some of the weird stuff that you'll see. Till then, later everyone.